Welcome to week three of the NFC East update. This is my name's Nick. I'm joined by Aaron. I'm also an idiot. We just started the show. We're about 5 minutes into it before I realized I wasn't recording. So, Aaron, I apologize
Do
about
you do anything like it? Feel like that's just kind of you got to do that a certain amount of times when you do this. There's a
yeah,
quota that you got to hit, and so hopefully that takes care of at least the next couple episodes,
yeah,
next couple weeks of updates that we got that out of the way. But
yeah.
yeah, good
So,
week at least to be a Cowboys fan. We had some interesting texts back and forth
yeah,
before we recorded this, or when we were talking previously, our warm-up round. Yeah, you probably like most Giants fans, a little bit of a yo-yo of emotions, some very high highs, some very, deep lows. Um, but you know, let's dive back into it. We were talking about, it's hard not to mention 160 yards of penalties against one team. I think I saw what was it, the highest number of penalty yards against the Giants since like 2000. It's either 2004 or 2009. So we're talking about, almost 20, if not 20 plus years. And high penalties. And the number 55, I can't remember the guy's name that was, the culprit in most of those. You almost at that point felt bad for the guy. Because it was like it was almost comical, right? Like I had to run out to the store real quick. I was listening to it in the car on the way back, and like I was like, "There's no way." And like when the announcers start to dog you of like, "Guess who it is? I can't believe this guy did it again." Like you got to feel about that big at that moment when you're on national television, like there, and just get called for what it seemed like five plays back to back of just penalties against one guy.
yeah. I think he walked away with four, and then he got benched, and I don't know if he made it back into the game at all. I'm trying to
He
remember.
did. I think they pulled him for a second, let him sit and kind of cool off, and then in. And I think he picked up one more, like a false start or a hold, like later in the game. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, not what you want as a team. Obviously, makes it really challenging. Though Russ and the rest of the offense really had a day, and we'll get into some of those statistics. But yeah, hard to win football games when you lose the penalty yard battle that by that big of a margin.
Yeah, that and also when you're in the red zone, you need to score. We've been saying this for years. I think we finally found out the secret. You got to score from outside the red zone. So you got to throw these long bombs to be able to score touchdowns for the New York Giants. So if you're listening, Dable or anybody else from the offensive, don't even if you get into the red zone, just go ahead and kick a field goal, take those points. Don't waste any more time. Try to score before you get to the red zone. Once you start to get to that 45, 35 yard line, just start taking shots at the end zone. That's the only way you're going to score.
Yeah, and that's not at all emotionally driven by you, and maybe out of a little bit of disappointment. But you know, it you say that, but it helps. I think the cowboy of the game, so to speak, has to be Brandon Aubrey. The guy made it from um, what, 64 or something like that. The game winner was from 46. I think he kicked a 40 or a 44 yarder as well. So if you play fantasy and you've got Brandon Aubrey, he has outscored like half the offensive players in the league so far this year. So good on you, good insight there. But it's wild, man. Like he really is. Like he is probably the brightest star in Dallas right now. It's funny because they talked about it on the broadcast, but I saw this week like his LinkedIn profile floating around because I didn't know this. I knew that he grew up in Plano, so close to me, same city I grew up in, different high school. Went to Notre Dame, played soccer, played professional soccer, came back home, I guess. Was working as like a software engineer or an engineer or something like that, and just decided that he was gonna like just try to start kicking again and hired a coach, got on the USFL, and obviously the rest is history being with the Cowboys. But um, really a guy that can flip the field. I mean, not even flip the field, but like I don't know if you watched the kick when he hit it to go, to essentially tie the game up, but he kicked it. He was standing behind the 50-yard line. Like the holder, I think, was like at the negative 49, and he kicked that thing, took a weird like spin in the air, got back on track, but like he could have hit that from another 5, 6 yards out. Like freaking dude's automatic. So definitely helped us out with that. I will say though, talking about special teams, is that with a kicker like that, this may not even been in a conversation piece. You can argue that, Shoddy or, Dak, you look at the second quarter, go and drive, throw the ball, they get up on the ball, they don't leave enough time on the clock. Arguably could have, with better clock management, better game management, could have potentially had a try from probably about the same distance, but a good try at the end of the first half to go ahead by, I think, three at that time or tie it up at that time. I can't remember the exact score, but so maybe a missed opportunity there, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. Ended up Cowboys got the dub. But you talk about it, right? Like you have talking about those two teams, right? Like you've got to be happy about some things, frustrated about some things, but doing some of the digging and stuff in the numbers, your Giants are actually towards the top of. Now it helps that they played an overtime game and got a little bit extra time, but some of the statistical leaders, number one in some of the categories. I mean, you look at offensive leaders. Russell Wilson is leading the entire NFL with 618 yards. He's got to be towards the top. I'll pull touchdown, passing touchdowns, but it's got to be up there because he threw what three in that game. So Dak coming in really not far off, number five in total passing yards, 549, but. Uh, Defensive leaders, total tackles, Bobby Oker, I can't ever pronounce his name.
Okay,
He's on
okay.
my fantasy. Yeah, okay. Leading the NFL right now with 26 tackles. Brian Burns, who that guy is, he number zero?
Yeah,
That guy's an animal. Like, dude played lights out. Like, was making plays all over the field. Is currently tied for number four in the league in sacks with three. Not Malik Neighbors leading the NFL in receiving with 238 yards. Obviously, talking about he had two big touchdowns, for you guys last weekend. One that I think probably almost killed half the Cowboys fans when Russ looked like, 10 years ago, Russ, where he hucks the ball down the field, drops a dime in the end zone for the go-ahead score at the time.
that was a good catch.
Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't be, I mean, I don't think you can be too terribly upset. I mean, obviously not the results that you want. 0-2 is not necessarily where you want to be, but especially after the showing of week one for you guys and going to play the Commanders and really getting stifled on offense. I don't know if it's a testament to, the Giants just bouncing back or if it's a testament to the Cowboys defense. We'll get into some of that, but right now the Giants are one, two, three, four, five, number six in the NFL in total offensive production. And then you look at defense. This is where it gets a little bit squirrely because you guys are dead last in team defense right now, though you have some statistical, you know, statistical leaders there. But when you have a team where both, or you have a game where both, and heck, the Cowboys are only two spots ahead of you at number 20, what was it, number 30? So when you have a game where I think the Giants were something like 500 or 600 yards of offense, the Cowboys right there with you, you're going to need some of those extra games to kind of thin out those averages. So,
Yeah, I think to go back to like the defense being in dead last, again, stunts and blitzes. I mean, they're pretty ho hum when it comes to scheming on the defensive line. They just got all that horsepower, and they've got all that horsepower on the defensive line, and they're relying on them to get all that torque. But unfortunately, all that horsepower and very little torque comes from not being able to get creative with the defensive line, as far as throwing in like maybe an extra blitzer or to break up some of those double teams or some stunts to just kind of get those guys to in motion heading towards the quarterback. Also, I would like to point out too, and during that game for the Giants, a big bright spot. Looking at Wandell Robinson, he had a phenomenal game. It's great for the first time to see a quarterback in 2 years recognize that there are other receivers on the field, and he obviously had gotten some confidence throwing to Wandell. So that was fun to see. Also, Theo Vaughn out there catching some passes. So it's good. Last year, the Giants mostly just focused directly on neighbors, and that was their only hope. So. That's why I think last year I think it broke the record for receptions for a wide receiver in a single season as a rookie because the Giants didn't realize that there were other receivers on the field. So that was also fun to watch.
yeah, and I mean, you look at, Darius Slayton, obviously not, not the number of anywhere close to the number of targets, the number of receptions, but just, you know, two pretty big snags, right? Like he's two receptions on four targets through two games, 61 yards. But you look at that, I mean, those are some big, not home run balls, but those are big change of position because their average, he's averaging 30.5 yards per reception. And you're right. You look at Malik Neighbors is definitely the number one in production, one of the top receivers, or do we say the number one receiver in NFL right now?
He's got the most, yeah, the
Um,
most yards.
yeah, so notice yards. So 14 receptions on 25 targets, 238 yards, average of 17 yards a catch. So, not anything to turn your nose up at there. Um, Two touchdowns. The big one came, long reception of the year is 48. It's funny you look at the statistics though. I'm looking at it, Slayton, uh, averages, it's two receptions for 61 yards with a long of 52. So he has a 52 and a 9-yard reception. So let me walk back some of those statements have really changed. Like one of them changed the field position. The other one was a pretty routine play. So
Yeah.
um, but listen, like those are, I think, coming from the lack of production you guys had last year and seeing some of those things and having Russ, like the question I think was, is it, is Russ over the hill? Do we need to throw in Jackson Dart? Like I think that there was some stuff they did, and obviously, we'll get to the drive where your boy, uh, the Aaron
And a boo.
proclaimed Juggalo himself, Scatterbo. Got his first regular season rushing touchdown, I believe. But Dart and Scatterbo, what was it, fourth quarter, ended up going down there. Same play that Russ kind of executed and did some things. You get Dart in there, give people different looks, a little bit more concerned about his legs than necessarily Russ. Hands the ball off to Scatterbo and goes for, like he does, kind of just pinballs off of people. The guy's really hard to tackle. He runs angry. So ended up, I don't think it was that play, but that was a pretty big gainer, and then ended up going and I think punched it in from like 2 yards, 1 yard out. So the first, yeah, and you texted me about this, and I said, hey, you got to kind of slow your roll here. Of like the first, is this shadowing to what the offense of the Giants could be for many years to come? And while it may be, I think that was a little bit of a emotionally driven. I think you were riding the high of your boy Scatterbo getting in the end zone. So.
No,
Uh,
as you look at it, you see Dart for the first time actually take a snap on that drive. You're right. There was two plays. There was the one long run, and then there's Scatterbo punched it in. So let me also, if we're walking back stuff, let's. All right. So before you kick a field goal inside the 20, try handing it off to Scatterbo. He might be the answer for our red zone woes. But I think looking back on it in the future, if both these guys end up being like phenomenal players, or at least franchise players for the Giants, we can look back at that drive and be like, this is the first time that Jackson Dart took the field, and this is the first time Scatterbo got his first touchdown. So I think as far as Giants fans goes, I don't know if many people were living in the moment like I was, but I still say that you're right. That might be some foreshadowing for the future. These two might make some pretty good Giants, or at least good players, even if they don't stay on the Giants for years to come, and we can look at that as their first, drive together.
Yeah. No, I think it's, you're right. I think that first probably meaningful time or meaningful drive. You look at week one with Scatterbo. I think he got in, he had a couple of plays, maybe one or two rushes. I know he had that swing pass where he kind of pinballed around and looked like he got rocked pretty good. And then I don't know if Jackson Dart even got in week one. I don't think he did. It was obviously not a great showing for the G-men, but yeah, right. Like, and I think that's going to be the thing, right? Like, is you had said you think that it's probably 6 games in. I think a lot of the talking heads inside of going into this game thought that Dart was going to be the answer, but Russ showed him they can still, get out there and sling the ball and spin it and still move and do some things with his legs and um, not super mobile, did what he had to do. And I think that, as we look at this, right, like we had some good things on defense. Um, the one thing that I kept going back to, right, was we really don't. You're not seeing probably the pass rush or the pressure that we're used to seeing, right? Like, and I know that you're big on stunts and games and wanting to see a little more flavor out of the G-men, but um, there's a little bit of like you don't want to empty the tank first couple weeks because people are going to have game film. You want to keep people guessing. You want to do some things. You argue that you're against a divisional opponent. Is there anything really to save, knowing that you're kind of coaching for your job? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. Um, But at the same time, like it is, we'd love to say that every time we brought pressure or did things that you get a sack, but simply if you're getting home or getting pressure or moving a quarterback off the spot, especially if they're not necessarily your most mobile guy, that having more guys in coverage definitely helps you. And if you can do that with three or four or maybe five, even if it's not super complex games, like if you just move the spot, move the launch point, use all the $10 buzzwords that every commentator uses, but that's it forces some throws, it forces, interceptions, it forces completions, you get to some teams, it forces frustration on the part of people that receivers and people that are trying to catch the ball. So um but when you look at that, right, like if we're looking at, like you said, Brian Burns, he was all over the field, right? Like has had 9 tackles on the year, I think. No, excuse me. Um, but up there for number of sacks. I mean, he's got 3 sacks on the year already going through 2 games. He had a couple PBUs, almost got an interception, I think. Had some really good plays where snipped out a screenplay and just absolutely tattooed the running back, I think. So a lot to see out of him. But going back to the Cowboys, right? Like we don't. Kayvon Thibodeau even 1.5 sacks. Like we just don't have, we being the Cowboys, just don't really have a ton of pressure on the quarterback, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know the exact number of pressures we have. Like if you look at the stat leaders, like Kenny Clark, which was the pickup, obviously in the Micah Parsons trade, has 1 sack, but tied with I don't know 20 or 30 guys as the 30th leader, defensive stat leader. Um, and so has been a game changer. I won't say a game changer, but has done some really good stuff in the run. Obviously, has gotten some pressure up the middle. But one of those things of being able to do some of those games and schemes where you're moving a guy like Micah Parsons around, which clearly shown that he's able to do it at Green Bay and has been a difference maker in that defense. And we'll probably get to them in a little bit. But yeah, there's not a lot of pressure. Russ had a lot of time, was able to step up, was able to move, and even being a little bit older and not the Russ that we know from a long time ago when he was winning Super Bowls. Still was able to go out there and deal and throw for 480 yards or whatever it was, right? And so I think you've got some really strong receivers over there, but at the same time, like we got mixed up. We got cooked on a couple, some blown assignments. And I think one of the things we talked about was with the big thing of, is Trayvon Diggs healthy? Is he coming back? Is he there? Unfortunately, right now, like I don't know if he's just missed a step, if it's fallen off, but he had a couple of blown coverages and had some big plays that just looked like he was a couple steps behind or maybe just lost out there. And so um, he's always kind of been, and I think that's been one of the big knocks from Cowboys fans and across the league is that there's always been he's very much a home run guy. Like he'll go for interceptions, he'll go that, but he'll also get beat deep or he'll get a ball caught on him for a big gain or because he's trying to go for an interception. So defense, not real stellar on the Cowboys front, did some good things, but there wasn't a lot of defense played, in that game when you give up that many yards on both sides of the ball. So.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was also sorry, it's looking ahead and I was trying to figure out if Jaden Daniels is going to be playing this week. But
Yeah,
let's
I need to know because I've got him on fantasy and I really I need
It's still iffy. I didn't see anything anything that was dead on. But since we're talking about Jaden Daniels, let's go ahead and roll into the Washington versus or sorry, yeah, Washington versus Packers. Um, Washington loses. Now they're tied 1-1 with Dallas. So you guys are kind
yeah.
of Kraft for Kansas City. I'm sorry for uh, the Packers. Had a pretty good game, 6 catches, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. And the Packers offense is was just way
Yeah,
too.
they're I think this is a very early, we'll say early part of the season because we've only been through week 2.
Yeah,
But you've got to argue that probably when you look at probably most complete teams, at least in my opinion, they've got to be in the conversation, right? Um,
yeah,
I don't think that Jordan Love, looking at some of his stats, like definitely not leading the league. I mean, he's 12th right now in production, 480 yards. Hasn't taken a lot of sacks. Actually, has been sacked twice. But looking at 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and so not really lighting the world on fire. Still leading. We got a lot of people five, six, three touchdowns if you look up and down the chart there. And so, I mean, very solid performance, but you're right. The run game has been really good on both sides. You know, the defensive and offensive lines have looked really good. Kraft played unbelievable. You know, as a Texas guy, you know, I love to see that Matthew Golden's out there mixing it up, and they're playing good football, right? Like they played, I think, really two really good teams or two good teams, and the Commanders, and then playing the Lions, which I think we all had kind of our questions of like how far did the Lions drop off, but then turn around and go into uh they go into Chicago where everyone's singing the praise of their defense and I think put up what like 52 points or something like that. Like
Yeah.
so you know, the wheels are not the sky is not falling in Detroit, but yeah, the Packers are playing a really, really good complementary complete football. So strong team there. You know, Jaden Daniels still did some good things. You know, statistically, he's again not lighting it up this year. Has thrown for 433 yards, three TDs, zero interceptions. Has been sacked a lot. Has been sacked 7 times, and I think that's a byproduct of, you know, not necessarily a lot of that came, you know, in this last game against Green Bay and just, you know, them getting after him and doing some things. But yeah, if I don't even know who their backup is, but it's going to be interesting to see if he comes back, you know, for Commanders as well. I think Debo is leading the way as far as receptions on that team. They've had some pretty okay weeks, but I think statistically Debo is leading that. Run game, I will say probably not the best. Um, but okay, I think they're still a solid football team and a lot of season left to play for them.
Yeah. I it's You're right. Jaden Daniels hasn't really he's not playing horrible either. I think he was obviously a big part of the win against the Giants. I'm trying to find out the name of the quarterback, the backup quarterback for Washington. Not that it matters, but I think that that could greatly deter or have a impact on the outcome of this game. Janie Daniels plays, they have a better chance of winning this week. If they don't, if he doesn't, then who knows? It's a
Yeah, I mean it's a crapshoot, right? And so,
yeah. I
and
mean,
then
if you look at him when he first came out to like the Washington was nobody cared about the Giants didn't care about the Washington Philly didn't care about Washington. Cowboys didn't care about Washington until Daniel wow. Daniels comes on board, and that's when that team actually started to come alive and look very good. And like I said, I've been saying it, since the preseason. They're a dangerous team. The
for
Eagles got to
sure.
keep an eye on them. The Giants got to keep an eye on them, and obviously the Cowboys got to keep an eye on the Commanders.
Yeah, right. And like I think we went into this year and we'll round out with we won't round out with the Eagles Chiefs. You know, obviously having Jalen Carter back helped them. You know, I've got a lot of in-laws that are Bills fans that were big Eagles fans this past week. Anytime KC loses, I think all Bills Nation, Bills Mafia is excited about that, as well as probably as the rest of the AFC. But no, I mean they played solid. You know, I don't have the stat line up on that. Um, the Chiefs just kind of looked like they couldn't get in rhythm on offense, and the Eagles played. You know, it wasn't. Definitely didn't set the world on fire, didn't do anything great. They just played a decent game, beat a good team. And so I think, you know, again, it's super early in the season. I can't sit there and be like, well, yeah, you know, you got to watch out for this, you got to watch out for that. The one thing that I think that maybe, you know, that may help out the NFC East, right, is that you look at um, you know, the NFC North last year was arguably one of the better divisions in football. You had a lot of, you know, you had the Vikings, you had the Lions, the Packers, obviously a uh, terrible in divisional record, but still really solid teams. And so, wild card race, very too early to talk about that, but maybe wide open. But I tell you what, someone in the NFC to watch out for is the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
You know, that drive that Baker Mayfield led at the end of the game to go ahead for that, he's playing fired up. That team's playing fired up, playing motivated, and so well outside the NFC East, but in the entire NFC picture, I think that the NFC South has been really bad the past couple years. I mean, you get in the division winner, limping into the playoffs at 8 and 8 and 9, you know, you not great. And I'm probably get for the 9 people that watch us get crucified because that's probably not anywhere close to the stat line. But Yeah, not a strong division the past couple years, but the Buccaneers look fantastic, and so I think they'll be someone to watch out for in the overall NFC picture. But um, anything that you saw, anything to note for the Eagles Chiefs game? I didn't watch a ton of it, candidly. I kind of was bouncing here and there and kind of just checked in on it. But
Yeah,
anything you saw that was noteworthy?
Chiefs defense, I think, actually did pretty well. They were able to hold. I don't know what the stats are off the top of my head, but they were able to hold. I think Saquon had a touchdown. Hurts had a touchdown, but as far as yardage goes, they really didn't move the ball very well against the Chiefs. But better than the Chiefs moved the ball. So I mean, the offense of the Chiefs was definitely, like I say, lackluster. They're having a hard time moving the ball. They clearly don't seem like they're on the same page. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I mean, Andy Reid normally is known for having his team ready to go at the beginning of the season. I
Sure,
think that they're not playing as good as the team actually is. On paper, they're much better. And actually, I think in real life, they're much better. It's just right now, they're not on the same page. And there's a lot of frustration. And I hope that frustration carries over for another week. And I hope that Travis Kelce keeps tackling his own offensive teammates and the Giants
sure.
are able to, a touchdown or two and not have to and give the defense a week off if the Chiefs aren't going to be playing defense so well. So
Yeah, I mean, you look at, I'm looking at some of the stats. I mean, they're very middle of the road on defense or excuse me, on offense as far as production. Um, defense again, middle of the road. Hard thing with that is, right, like you hit the nail on the head. They are not playing up to, and maybe it's just the whole kingdom mentality or, the shot at
Super
being
Bowl
our
hangover.
yeah. Um, but whatever it is, right? Like they've had some rough starts to seasons before, I think in the past couple of years, right? Like they've won one, dropped a couple, did that, but end up getting right back on track. And they always seem to be that team that um, you know, I think what was it last year? I think the Bills were the only one to beat them in the regular season. Maybe they dropped another game, but I think 2 years before that or a year before that, they started off kind of shaky. Obviously, have done really well in the postseason, but always seem to be that team that kind of rolls into the latter part of the season, really finding their groove, being hot when they go into the playoffs, and then the Mahomes magic of just never count that guy, never count that offense out because they'll find ways to make some stuff happen when it matters. And so, yeah, we'll see. I think if you drop another one, if they drop another one, I think the alarm bell will start going off. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know what you do, but you've got a guy that's probably coached more pro football than a lot of people, than a lot of staffs combined. The fact that Andy Reid has been the guy for a long time, won a lot of games. You've arguably one of the best. Some of the best players across the league and potential future Hall of Famers with obviously Mahomes, Kelsey on the defensive side of the ball, have some guys that are absolute just freaks over there. So I don't think it's time in the Chief Nation, or I don't think we can count them out for anything, but they definitely need to right the ship sooner than later, right? And so, um,
Well, the Giants
but
aren't
yeah,
that launching pad. It's going to be the Ravens. The Ravens are gonna wake them back up. But for this
yeah.
next week, they're going to still sleep, and the Giants are going to do well.
This is kind of like, and I won't say a gimme game, but yeah, they're probably looking a little bit farther. I say that like they're still pros. They handle their business. They're gonna do all those things, and like it's still you got to go out and win, right? Like you're still playing professional sports, but I think Spags will probably dial up some stuff. You know, get some stuff going, get some looks. Now you guys are lucky in the fact that I guess we're diving into week three. But does Russ go off for another 400 something yards? Probably not. But at the same time, I think when you go in, you look at a team like the Chiefs and Spagnuolo with a really creative defense, right? Like if you like pressures, like he's your guy.
I know he
Um,
was our guy, and I loved him.
yeah, he at one point was. But when you look at that, right, like I don't think that we had talked like, is Jackson Dart going to come in again? Is that like I think it'll be a little bit of a situational thing, like maybe kind of like you saw him with the Cowboys. But when you have a Spags defense that gives you so many looks and can do so many things, I don't think that you have a better weapon back there. You don't have a better option back there. Than Russell Wilson, who has just simply played so many games in this, seen so many looks. I mean, obviously, you talk about the greatest to do it, the GOAT Tom Brady. He's made statements a lot of times of like, there's nothing that I haven't seen. Like you still line up 11, you still play in the same field. You can only do so many things that schematically make sense. And obviously, he's got the track record, the chops to prove, he's got the body of work to say that he's the best. But when you get those guys that have been in the league for so long, that have played so many snaps of football, you've really got to go out like to get them confused to do some of those things versus seeing a younger quarterback trying to digest a lot of that stuff. I think you go with the veteran here, especially coming off of a 3 or 4 touchdown week with 480 yards passing, and did a little bit with his legs when he needed to. So hopefully for you guys that you know they roll it into this next week, and you can capitalize and take some of those good things, and you start to play, get a little bit of belief in the team, get a little bit of that fire back that they had in the preseason. Um, Going into, I don't know, are they playing at MetLife, or excuse me, are they playing in New York, or okay, they're at,
Yeah,
got
MetLife.
it. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So we already previewed that game. Let's roll into. Well, let me double check on my preview on that game. Was there anything else I wanted to touch? Um. Oh, do you think we'll see Dart again on the field this? I mean, and if they do they keep running the ball, or are we gonna see him pass the ball? I mean, what are your opinions on Dart coming in on these? Uh,
Like I said, like I probably jammed it into another incoherent line of thought, but I don't think, if anything you see him this week, I think that, like I said, with Spags' defense, I think it'll be kind of a maybe a wrinkle that they put in. Maybe you see him pull it versus hand it off, maybe a series here and there. But they even called it out on Sunday, right? Like when you have a quarterback that's in a rhythm, or you have an offense that's in a rhythm that's doing well, it is really you're doing it it's almost like a mental, like, and again, I apologize if this is offensive to anyone, like it's an exercise in mental masturbation, right? Like you want to show how smart you are because, like, look, we got our rookie in and we got a wrinkle in here, but like, if you're moving the ball consistently, you're going to go three and out sometimes. You're going to have some drives stall and you got to kick a field goal, or you're going to punt the ball. It's the NFL. It's going to happen. But when you have that rhythm and you have kind of they're in sync, you putting and kind of throwing a wrinkle in that is really just for your own ego. It's not because you believe maybe it's the best thing to do on the team for the team right there. Um, and it's really probably not the best thing to do for him, right? Like you go in to run one zone read and get him out. Like it's, the Scatterboo play was set up by a Russ run previously. You actually look at the mechanics of it. I believe the blocking scheme was similar but different enough. Opened a different direction when he actually took the handoff versus when Russ did the zone read and actually pulled it. So slight wrinkle, slight difference there. But it's one of those things that it's a little bit. I think Dart is still a little bit of window dressing, right? Because teams are more concerned that he will take it and run with it or pull it, which if you freeze a guy for a half second or a half step may give you that 40 something yard run from Scatterboo. But long answer to get to, I don't know that it does you any good unless Russ is just, one of two things. It's garbage time because the Giants are getting blown out, or it's garbage time because the Giants are winning by a huge margin. I don't think if it's a close game, there's any reason to put Dart in there unless you really just have a wrinkle you think can expose something.
Yeah, and also on top of it, Dart's not very good at sliding, so that might, him injuring himself.
Yeah, you don't need to get into, the secondary with the Chiefs and just get absolutely like,
Yeah,
tattooed, and then, get banged up on that's great. You carried the ball 12 yards and got a first down, but you are now like you're bleeding out of your ears. I don't think
yeah,
that's the juice ain't worth the squeeze, so to speak. So,
agreed, agreed.
um, but we'll see. I can't say that I dislike the Chiefs. I can't say that I like the Chiefs. I'm very indifferent, but if we're going NFC East homers, like, yeah, sure, let the Giants win. So, but moving on, Cowboys and Bears.
Yeah, struggling Bears.
I think it's a win for Dallas. I don't know what the score is going to be. Don't know what the projections are. I think that they're still like, you've got a guy back there that, with the lack of pass rush that we've had, Caleb Williams has done some good things. He's still done some Caleb Williams stuff. Like you see him in week one, and, he's scrambling and he's taking, he's given up 15 yards to run backwards, to huck the ball down the field and do some of those things. And like that's been the big criticism of, he's just got to mature as a passer in the NFL. I don't think they've got enough. I think the Cowboys, let's put it this way. I think the Cowboys defense is good enough to get out of there with a win. I think the offense is doing really well, right? Like they're spreading the ball around. Pickens is really becoming, He's not as targeted as much as CD and call that, whether he's just not open or maybe there's just a better connection. The fact that Dak and CD have been together for so long. And then obviously he's going to throw the ball to Jake Ferguson 87 times. And then we've seen a lot of checkdowns, a lot of things like that. And so, um, been really impressed. Javonte Williams is running the ball really well. 3 touchdowns. He's been a fantasy, good pickup for fantasy folks, putting up yards there. But I think they get out of there with a win. Um, I don't know. I think their defense may give them some fits, right? Like you come out to, you get teams they did get beat up on. They did get quite a large amount of points put up on them, but you get teams that sometimes just fold and pack it in. I don't think under a new head coach, under this team, I don't think that's kind of where their head's at, especially, one loss, I guess they're 2 losses into the season, but it's either they come out flat or they come out and play lights out. And knowing the Dallas Cowboys, like this could be a fumble game for them of, come off of come off of a win, a lot of statistically big emotional win in week 2. Like, is there a letdown? Maybe it's how the Cowboys kind of are, but I think when you look at it on paper, the Cowboys should win this game.
Yeah, I don't see the Cowboys, this being a trap game for them. They don't have a whole lot of momentum behind them, agreed, but they lost a winnable game week 1. They barely beat the Giants, and that's um, so I think that they're going to come out with some fire and
Yeah, and
the
that's what we talked about, right? Like we talked about, is was it a really good game or was it a game between two really bad teams? And I don't think either one of us have the answer to that question yet, being it so early in the season. But like I said, I don't know what the score will be. The Bears, it's the NFL. They'll come out with some wrinkles. They'll do some good things. They've got, Caleb Williams was the #1 pick in the draft for a reason. The dude can spin the ball. So when he's on, but he's not on as much as he's probably off. So I think Cowboys get a win, but I think it's probably you're gripping your seat a little bit harder, or squeezing that koozie of whatever your favorite beverage is a little bit more and muttering some 4-letter words under your breath. But Cowboys get the win.
yeah, I'm trying to remember some of the things that I might have said. And maybe it's good that I don't remember exactly what I said during that especially that overtime play there. But yeah, other than I do remember saying, "This is our guy. Russ is our guy. If he gets a touchdown here, he's our guy. We're never gonna we will follow him to wherever he wants to go, and he gets that touchdown. And then at the end of the game, he just kind of closes his eyes and throws it up in the air, and I'm just like, fire the guy."
I do have the read receipts, and luckily I'm not on a Mac right now because I could
Yeah.
pull up my screen. But I think that yeah, uh, there was definitely a text that was along the lines of "He's our guy." When he threw that, there was the like shocked emoji face where it's just like blue faced
Yeah.
and that. And then within seconds of that field goal going in, I think it's like
Cut him.
Russ ain't the guy. It's just like, come on, dude. Like the body's not even cold yet. Relax. You're gonna be okay. So, um, well, cool. Let's run down these last two. Get us out
Sure.
of here.
Yeah.
But Rams Eagles. Do the Eagles take their first L this week? What are your thoughts?
I think the Rams are a very decent team, and I think if anybody is gonna give them a loss, they're just as good as anybody else. One of the few teams I think right now that have the potential to beat them. Um, my gut says no, but if somebody's gonna do it, it's gonna be the Rams.
Yeah, right. I think you look at it so far that they've been playing really well. I could see it, I could see the Rams taking this one statistically, better than probably most every category. They're rolling in. Week 1 was not a very pretty game against the Texans, coming away 14-9 victory. Better against the Titans last week, 33-19. Puka is still Puka. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Guy does some amazing things. You've got Matt Stafford, who, you know, I think we're the same age, which is a testament to his athleticism and longevity. Because I, get out of bed and hurt myself, and he's 37 and playing in the NFL still. And so, yeah, I think they've got some talent over there. They're doing some good things. I think that they could definitely. I mean, it's probably a 50-50 game who wins, but because of my burning dislike, we'll call it, for the Eagles. I'm a fan of whoever they play.
Yeah.
So go Rams. I think hopefully the Rams will take the dub on that one. And then the rounding it out, the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Commanders. We've got some notes here. I can't help but laugh because I probably agree with you on some stuff, but what are your thoughts about the Commanders versus, well, we already talked about it, right? Like it's very dependent upon, let's go down two paths. Jaden Daniels plays, what say you?
I say he plays. I think he's going to play.
No, but if he does play, like what do you
Oh,
think? Who walks away?
Commanders win. I think the
Okay.
Commanders win. I think the Commanders win anyway. Um, Geno. Geno, this hasn't been playing very well against good defense. I mean, it's very hard for any quarterback to play against a good defense, but he's
Yeah.
particularly bad this season. He's one touchdown versus four interceptions. The last past couple, especially when he was another guy, another giant that was good in Seattle. He for years he was kind of known as geez, what do you call it when somebody fails in a draft? When they're not very good coming out of it.
A flop, a bust.
Yeah, bust. Yeah, he was a bust coming out of the draft. Played for the Jets, played for the Giants, played for a couple other teams. Goes on to play for Seattle and does
Seattle.
extremely well. And then makes his way over to the Raiders. Is he still the guy that plays very well, or I think against this defense, we're going to see him play a little bit better. I think he's going to at least hopefully be even on that turnover ratio. But is it enough to beat Washington? I'm sorry, Raiders, but I don't think your offense or your defense is, especially if Jaden Daniels is gonna play. I don't see their defense stopping them.
Yeah, right. Like I think if you look at the stats, right, like looking side by side. Geno Smith, slight edge in, I mean, slight edge in completion percentage is really about the same. One, like you just mentioned, one touchdown to four interceptions. Jaden Daniels, if he plays, Marcus Mariota is the backup, by the way. So a guy that's won some football games. So it's not like you're pulling good old Ben DiNucci off the bench, the guy
I
that
knew it
no
was
one knew about in
Mariota.
Dallas. Yeah. So, um, but definitely, I mean, Jaden Daniels, 43 to 72 for three touchdowns. You look at rushing, like, you know, Ashton Genty, I think, has had some burst. He absolutely just trucked someone last game. Was really impressed with that. But, on 30 carries, only 81 yards, and so not even averaging 3 yards a carry. One touchdown, which, you definitely being a first round pick, you'd hope that you have the tools around him to do a little bit more. Um, versus Krosky Merritt, has 99 yards on 14 carries, so a little bit more productive there, with one touchdown. And then you look at receptions, right? Like Jacoby Myers, if you look at the team leaders, Jacoby Myers, 14 receptions for 165 yards. Debo Samuel, 14 receptions for 120 yards. So same number of receptions, slight edge in production going to Jacoby Myers, but touchdowns, Debo has got him by a whopping one with his single touchdown of the season. And so, but yeah, I mean, Washington still, as it stands right now, still a heavy favorite in this one. I think the line that I'm seeing right here, have got them at -6.5, at home. And so, getting well, it opened at 6.5, excuse me. What are we at now?
It's minus 3.5.
Yeah, -3.5. So you're going to get the points. So a little bit closer as far as the spread there. Obviously, getting a little bit of the kicker because you've got the home field advantage on that. I think that does help. So yeah, I think Washington, Daniels plays. Even if Daniels doesn't play, I think that as long as Mariota doesn't just, if he does play, if he doesn't just, absolutely dump the game. I think Washington wins. But I could see this being closer than probably either side wants it to be, right? Like I don't think that after last week, I don't think that Washington comes out and just clobbers them. I don't think Vegas comes out and, you know, goes off on the day and has a career day. I think it's a close game, but I think Washington ends up getting the dub. Um, and then you have a note, it's an interesting question, right? Like, would you, if he is injured, if the injury that he has is really, if they're really worried about it, do you play him this game?
to rest him. If they do sit him, I think that's the reason why they sit him. I think he's able to play just from what I'm reading. He's day to day. He's iffy. Like those are the kind of words. I think what they're probably sitting there saying, can we do it with Mariota? Are we going to have Mariota from his rookie season with Tennessee? Or are we going to have Mariota from the
Yeah,
Atlanta
the
Falcons?
Falcons where he, can't manage the clock and fumbles the ball and does all that stuff. Yeah.
Which Mariota do they
Um,
think they're going to have? If they think they're going to have the Mariota from his rookie season, maybe they play him. And
yeah.
you know,
But I think this is interesting, right? That's a fantastic point, not even thinking about it before we started talking, but that's the game inside the game, right? Like that is where you start to look at these things and as, you start looking at it where like obviously your division, like you want to win the division, right? You want to punch your ticket, win your division. But when you start looking at those, you have to kind of look at the field and say, okay, like the risk reward, right? Like, if we go out there, does Mariota give us a chance to actually win the game, or do we have to rely on Jaden? And then you weigh that against like what's the actual potential of him getting hurt versus like looking towards the end of the season, how much, even though this is a non-divisional game, like how much does this hurt us, or how much do we need that win versus a loss if we're staring down, trying to make the playoff picture, trying to make if you are in a scenario where you're staring down a wild card seed or where you get seated at. And so uh, that's what you got to love, right? Like there's obviously the X's and O's, there's who you line up, there's people you draft, there's your depth chart, and everything like that. But there's a game inside the game, right? Like you've got to, and it's the reason why these coaches, why these GMs, why these own, like all these people in these organizations make that much money because it is not just like, hey, roll out the balls and play. It's a long season. It's 17, you get 17 games, and so it's 18 weeks, I think, is the 18, 19 weeks when you look at, the international games and things like that. But it's a long season, right? Like, yeah, and if you're a team that you think and you want to live up to the hype of what people thought you could do going into the season, uh, in game three, do you play maybe a slightly hobbled or slightly behind star quarterback, or do you have enough faith in your backup to at least get you through the game? I think the week of practice will tell a lot. They're not going to have a whole lot of time to decide on that because, they are the early kickoff. And so they've got a little bit shorter window. You'd love to see it. Maybe if it was a Monday night game. But yeah, I think either way, I think Washington, regardless of who is the signal caller, I think Washington wins. But I think obviously the bigger edge goes if you've got Jaden Daniels back there over Marcus Mariota.
all right, let's recap. So Dallas, we got Dallas winning in Chicago. No,
Yeah.
we got Giants losing to. Well, I got Giants losing to the Chiefs. Yeah, or you
We
concur?
haven't been we haven't been keeping score. I think we've picked the games. I mean, I think the only edge that I may have is the fact that like you're going to take your Giants versus my Cowboys, and I think that's probably the deciding if we were to go back. We got to look at the what our record is this year. Um, you know, I'm going to give it to the G-men. I'm going to say they're fired up. They're going to go out. They're going to beat the Chiefs. They're in New York. Um, what's Cam Scadaboo is going to be, what's the drink, the Juggalo drink?
Oh,
Fuego or
Fago.
Fago? Yeah, he chugs two of those. He has a heck of a day on the ground, catches a few balls. Like, you never know.
Why do you think Scatterboo is a ICP? The
I don't know,
Juggalo.
man. Like it all kind of started, right? Like and I say that right. Like he has a fantastic story, right? Like came from Sac State, only offer, ends up going to Arizona State. Arguably one of the reasons, Kenny Dillingham and I can't remember the name of the quarterback off the top of my head. It'll come to me when we end the call, but um, one of the big reasons why they went out and had a dominant, Big 12 performance last year, picked last in the division, ended up finishing it, took Texas down to the wire, in the college football playoffs, win on a, last second, Texas wins on a last second play, but Cam Scadaboo was giving them fits all the second half, was really the reason why they were in that game. Um, Runs hard, everything like that. He's got some shit to him. Like he does, never loves talk shit. He's on the sideline throwing fits, doing all that stuff. And so I think that's really like, it's really, I won't say it's out of respect, but like he's kind of a grimy dude, and I kind of like that, right? Like he's got some shit to him. He plays out of his mind, right? Like he runs hard. He's really hard to tackle, bring down. It happened to be like because he went to the Giants, like, and I'm not saying that all Giants fans are ICP fans, but like
No,
that
not even
just
close.
yeah. But if I saw him like if it came out in the news,
Yeah.
if there was anybody in the NFL, you're like, oh, Cam Scatterbo is at like the meeting of the Juggalos, like
Yeah.
I'd be like, that tracks, that makes sense, right? Like versus maybe somebody else. Like if Christian McCaffrey rolled through, I'd be like, okay, that's weird. Like that's not what I pictured, but Scatterbo, I could see it. So
All right, so just for your information, if a Giants fan is gonna listen to hip hop, they're listening to Wu-Tang, they're listening to Biggie, they're listening to Nas, they're listening to Jay-Z,
yeah,
they're
no,
not
like are
listening to
you know,
ICP. This
listen,
isn't
like
the
I
Detroit Lions.
okay, well, we're gonna just throw those out there. But before we piss off anybody else, no, so we got the I think we both agree on Dallas. I think we both have the Commanders. The Eagles. You
Actually,
said
Commanders.
Eagles.
So here's my caveat with the Commanders. If Jaden plays, they win by 2 touchdowns. If Mariota plays, they lose by a field goal.
Okay, so hard maybe. You said Eagles win against the Rams. I picked the Rams, and then I am having faith in your G-men, saying the G-men get their first dub of the season against the Kingdom in MetLife. So we'll see how we stack
I
up
do
after
have
this week.
I have them losing, going 0-3 for the season. But I feel like if I keep expecting them to lose when they win, I'll just be that much more excited.
Listen, man, you got to it starts with belief. You got to believe. You got to believe. So, but no, I think that's it. We'll wrap that up. Any last parting thoughts, things to do there?
No, man, you got any interesting commercial property that you're selling it down in Texas?
We actually picked up. We've got a flex space. We've got a pretty big retail center. But no, real estate's real estate, man. The Fed did what the Fed's going to do yesterday. I think some people are excited about
Yeah.
that.
Lower
And
interest
so
rates.
hopefully that'll make our life a little bit easier. Don't know that it will, but it could. But what about you? Like you are, I tell people, I was talking to people about this, and I had some people that are actually lenders of mine that were like, "Hey, I saw that like the like podcast thing or whatever you're doing." They're big football guys, and so we talked about me, but I told him, I was like, yeah, my cousin Nick, if you guys don't know, Nick's my cousin. Um, I was like, he does marketing and he does this and I was like, he does a lot of stuff. Like he just does a lot of stuff. So like for the random people that stumble across this that don't know what you do, uh, please sell yourself much better than I do by just saying the blanket statement of he does a lot of stuff.
Well, I started off marketing in radio, kind of worked myself up from the LOL crew onto on air, and then eventually to doing videos and stuff for clients of the radio station. From there, I went on to a large car dealership family, the Leah family up here in the Albany, New York. They're in Massachusetts, Connecticut. They've got a bunch of different
But
dealerships.
not the huge brand of what is it, Billy Facillo?
Billy Fusillo, no.
That
Who
is
plays football
drilled,
for
that is
Syracuse, by
burned
the way?
into my brain for I lived in New York, for those that don't know, I lived in upstate New York for a little bit over a year. And across the state, if you say it's huge, shockingly not Donnie Trump, it is Billy Fusillo,
Yeah.
former Syracuse great and owner of what seems like 900 car dealerships. And either he just has the marketing budget to have his voice on every radio station, or I just got targeted because I'm apparently the demographic they go after. But
Well,
anyways,
unfortunately,
I digress.
Billy Fusillo did pass away a few years, maybe a year or two
Did
after
he?
that. Yep. And I believe they sold all the dealerships to either Matthews or Metro. I can't remember the name of the group.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they
R.I.P. Fusillo, Honda, Dodge, Mitsubishi, and the big man Billy himself.
yeah. And then from there, I worked at during COVID, I ended up, sitting on the sidelines until the first person that came to me, and that happened to be the Rivers Casino. Um, the Lee is also in a bunch of other businesses, but it looked like, the plan was to either go work for the Leah family again or the casino. So I ended up working at the casino, left the casino, and started my own marketing business. So now, it's funny because I started the podcast, the Capital Brew podcast, and I had a lot of people who say, "Hey, if you end up going on your own, I'll hire you, and you do our marketing and that kind of stuff, or it'd be interested in working with you." And it's funny, the only people that when I started this business, the marketing, Capital Brew marketing, the plan was to target real estate. There's a lot of people out there, like a lot of realtors that can use, some of my services that I do with video and drone and that kind of stuff. And I had some interest in that and also the nightlife, restaurants, bars, that kind of thing. But the only people that came knocking on my door were legal. It was a legal industry, so I started marketing for some law firms and doing other stuff for legal services. So right now I'm currently working on launching a legal services, CBM Legal Solutions, but I've got the Capital Brew marketing also going. I don't know if I'm going to take on any retainers anymore, but I think if anybody had any project work, feel free to reach out.
And as a realtor myself, more on the commercial side than the residential, anyone listening to this, your marketing is probably not as good as you think it is. Most of y'all market like it's still 1996, but no, it's I've seen some of the stuff, both the photography work, the copy work, everything like that. I need to pick your brain on a couple of things once we
For
get
sure.
off this. But no, check them out if you're seeing on my stuff. If it's creative work, if it's things like that, people that are down here in Texas, or every realtor knows 85 realtors because we're the only people that like to hang out with each other. But now hit up Nick. Great photography, great videography. He's helped me with some stuff. I've seen some of his stuff you used to shoot for, professional. You did sports, you did concerts, you did all sorts of stuff. And so give him a look, hit him up, ask him questions. But let's sign it off. Let's shut it down, and we'll see who is the slightly smarter family member when it comes to picking football this week.
I'm going to bet you. That's my bet. But yeah, see you week 4.
Good thing you're not a betting man. We'll see you in week 4.